education. Right now, the last recent years, there's a strong tendency to require assessment of children and teachers, so that you have to teach to tests, and the test determines what happens to the child and what
failure get defined in terms of kids' improvement on test scores. Nothing else being the focus of that. And the administrators who take that view basically wind up leading by intimidation, not by enthusiasm. They say, if you don't get your test scores up to a principal, your kids aren't doing well enough, we're going to toss you from your job. And the same thing is true of teachers and feel the pressure. And what you get is very little.
And ran for an embrace of high-stakes standardized testing as the only measure acceptable in terms of success in education. And the results have been pretty clear. Our standardized testing scores have done very well since then. We've seen scandals. We've seen parental protests. We've seen huge expenditures of money. And we've seen wild legislative flips from one extreme.
The State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness, or STAR for short, is an annual standardized test used in the state of Texas to assess students' knowledge and skills in several subject areas. The test is administered to students in grades 3 through 8 as well as high school, covering subjects such as reading, math, writing, science, and social studies. Recently, the STAR test has been controversial in Texas, with many critics arguing that it places too much emphasis on standardized testing and can have a negative impact on students and teachers. The STAR test should be removed from the Texas education system because it creates undue stress for students and teachers, takes up valuable instructional time, limits the scopes of education, and has not been proven to improve students' outcomes.
There is ample evidence to prove that the STAR test creates undue stress for students and teachers. Many educators have reported that the test puts an enormous amount of pressure on both themselves and their students, leading to a toxic testing culture that prioritizes test scores over actual learning. Additionally, studies have shown that the stress of high-stakes testing can lead to a negative mental health outcomes, including anxiety and depression. Furthermore, the STAR test takes up a significant amount of instructional time, with some schools dedicating as much as 25% of their academic year to test preparation and administration. This time could be better spent on actual learning rather than teaching to the test. Moreover, the STAR test limits the scope of education by emphasizing rote memorization and multiple choice questions over critical thinking and problem solving. This approach to education is not only limiting, but it can also hinder students' abilities to succeed in college and beyond. Lastly, there is little evidence to suggest that the STAR test has improved student outcomes in Texas. In fact, Texas has consistently ranked below the national average on various educational measures, including graduation rates and college readiness. The STAR test is a flawed and ineffective tool that creates more harm than good. It perpetuates a culture of stress and anxiety that is detrimental to both the students and teachers. The test also limits the scope of education and reduces learning to a narrow set of skills that are not representative of real-world success. Furthermore, the STAR test is part of a larger system of accountability that unfairly penalizes schools and teachers for factors outside of their control, such as poverty and lack of resources. This creates a punitive environment that fails to address the root causes of educational inequality.
Many flaws to it. Many. And a lot of people agree with us on that one. And we believe, and many other people in the country believe, it has many flaws and is very, very bad for the school system and children's education as a whole. So what can we do to prevent that? We've discussed and interviewed many teachers and students all around the building of Liberty High School and just asked some questions about what
they see in standardized testing.
Some flaws that I see, or I feel like sometimes they don't give you enough time to probably change it up a little bit and give some people that are a little bit slower some more time, or especially people that are maybe like in pre-cal as a junior. I think that they might like not have a refresher as well as people that are in algebra as a junior. It was a challenge though, because we were in a gym with a lot of people and with a lot of noise going on in the background. for me, it was a little bit harder to focus.
So, what are your thoughts on the STAR test?
Not a big fan of it. I think you could do pretty good over the school year and do bad on the STAR test, and it can keep you from moving to the next grade.
Did you have experience with that?
Oh, I did.
Oh yeah.
Failed about the last 6.
Well, man, yeah, that says something about standardized testing. You know,
Yeah, it
it affects
does.
us all, especially with you, how you have dyslexia and ADHD. I mean, it affects us all. Have you taken the SAT yet? And how
I have.
How did that go?
I feel like I did pretty good. I feel like maybe in the 1400s, 1500s.
Why you always lying?
That's cap, but hey, you think
Think big.
dream big. I like it. And what do you think can be done to change the way testing affects students?
I don't think there is a way.
Brother, this guy stinks!
You don't think there is a way?
Unless you just stop testing students.
Okay, I haven't heard that one. That's a great one. I like it.
Yep.
What are your opinions on standardized testing?
You know, it kind of guides the course for the year, so therefore you may lack some sense of like knowledge that is more important. So I think it is kind of wrong to teach to a test.
What flaws do you see within the standardized testing?
Well, it does kind of lead to only teaching for 3/4 of the school year because that last 9 weeks is just review time. So you kind of do lose out on like a whole kind of 9 weeks of learning.
And have you taken an SAT?
Yes.
And how'd that go? How'd you feel about that?
You know, it's a time crunch, it's a grind, but it does suck. I don't like it.
And what about a STAR test? You've had to take those through.
Yeah, I gotta take STAR tests. I mean, they're kind of a joke. But I see no point in them.
And how do you think, have you had experience with teachers teaching to the test, and how'd that affect you?
Well, I mean, when you think about AP tests, I mean, an AP class, all it is getting ready for the test. So I've had experience, and honestly, it's good, it's bad to provide structure, but I mean, I think it's overall gonna hurt your learning ability.
And what do you think needs to be done to fix standardized testing today in schools?
You know, that's a good question. So, to fix standardized testing, you probably have to maybe take it earlier on in the year so you can still have that other half of the year to learn, or just completely remove it.
What is your opinion on standardized testing?
I think it's bad.
Okay. What flaws do you see on standardized testing?
Colleges don't really care about it anymore. It's useless.
If you could change one thing about standardized testing, what would it be?
Ban it.
Have you taken the SAT before, and what was your experience?
I took it. It was very difficult. I spent 30 minutes on one question. It was a really bad experience.
Can you give us your name and job?
I'm Miss Seacrest. I teach Algebra 2 in Advanced Pre-Cal.
So what is your opinion on standardized testing?
I think they are historically biased.
But do you feel that students are really learning the material, or just going from test to test and forgetting after the test?
I definitely see students just learning for the test, and then after they just dump that knowledge somewhere else into the back of their brain. You can tell the students who are just learning it for the test so they can pass it and they're gonna move on.
So what sort of flaws do you see in the current system that we have?
Ooh, there's a lot of flaws. Inequity in the schools. We have one test throughout the state, and there's schools who have way less resources than, say, here at Liberty, or there's schools that have way more resources than we have here at Liberty. So I don't feel like it's really an even playing field. I think we could let go of standardized tests and more do like finals, because finals are more teacher created or district created, so that way it'd be more equitable to the students at district.
Yeah, one of the things that I read over the internet was that teachers don't really have any communication with the STAR test, and by the time you get your test scores back, you are already moved on to another teacher, another class, so they can't really help you improve based off of that.
That is very true. I have no clue what the STAR test looks like.
But
if you could change one thing about the current system we have, what would it be?
Giving teachers more of a stake in, or a voice at the table for how testing should go. How should students, where should the requirements be for students to move on to the next level, so that we aren't sending kids who aren't prepared for their next level.
Okay, so Mr. Crow, what is
Yes.
your job experience?
I've been a public school teacher in the state of Texas since 1997.
Do you think standardized test preparation is a good use of class time?
You know, you measure what you treasure. If you value the courses and whether or not the students are learning the material, there needs to be some kind of measurement as to whether or not they have mastered that material.
What flaws do you see with the current testing system, and how do you think they could be improved?
So maybe in the future we'll see the standardized testing responsibility given more to the independent school districts as opposed to having a one-size-fits-all test given by the state of Texas.
In conclusion, it is clear that the STAR test is not serving the best interests of Texas students. It should be removed from the education system and replaced with more effective and comprehensive methods of assessment. By doing so, students can create a more equitable and effective education system that prepares students for success in the 21st century.